I don't know. It's just something I'm thinking about. I'm not.
But
I'm not fully fleshed out on it
Right.
here. But I started to feel guilty about, like, of course I have tremendous history of telling people not to buy things,
of course.
especially when the market was looking for reasons not to buy things.
Right.
If you look at the success of the don't buy stuff, it's not me creating it.
No.
It's people wanting it.
Right.
They are so being told so many directions that they need the thing.
Right.
They can take someone's telling me I don't need it.
Yeah. But I also feel like the don't buy stuff is very, it's kind of feeds into tribalism, because you have a group of people who prefer one style of product and the other people who don't, and then they want to watch those don't buy videos so that they can feel like they made the right choice of the opposite product they purchased. So there's those two aspects of it as well.
Also, so they don't need to feel excluded for not having the money for a $1,000 phone every year.
Exactly. That's true.
That's a pretty nasty feeling.
It is a nasty feeling.
When 27 tech channels come out with this, what do I have right now? I got 18 different iPhones over there. Every single variation and color. They look like candy sitting on a table.
Of course.
And they're being flashed and brandished around, and you feel resentful. I don't blame you.
Of course. How can you not?
And so what? Do you deserve less representation than those that are all gung-ho like cheerleaders?
Right.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just stopped doing it altogether because I realized that there's guilt associated with the entire conversation, either feeding into the fact that the person needs a brand new thing every 5 seconds, or feeding into the alternative, which is that they should be mad at the people who feel that they do. And so then it was just, okay, I'm presenting the thing. Here is the item. Here's what it looks like. Here's the experience of getting it. Here's what the specs look like. And I don't know you well enough, and you don't know me well enough for us to go down the path of me determining whether this is the right thing for you.
And the only way to do that is with those personal conversations you have with people in real life, unfortunately.
A two-way interface.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. I mean,
please do.
I mean, okay, so you say that the only way to, I mean, you know, people feel resentful because you're flashing the latest and greatest, and you're saying it has this spec and it's better than that spec. But you could also say that if you didn't have access to this stuff, how are you or anyone else supposed to make an accurate description or review of the latest product if they don't have experience with all the other ones? Like, how is the average user supposed to know that the jump from the iPhone 11, based on his personal experience, because he might not have it, to the 13 or whatever the phone is worth upgrading unless you had access to all these devices or all these pieces of products?
I mean, to me, that's go back to the food analogy.
Right.
It's just at a certain point, the general public has had a wide enough variety of experiences to give some pretty typical feedback. Like, here's what I mean to say. The difference between the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 11.
Right.
Now, how many people do you know that, or let's go to iPhone 10. Let's go all the way back to iPhone 10. So how many generations is that? 10, 11?
3 or 4?
12, 13, whatever, Pro variants and so forth. There's a lot of people that somewhere in their social graph has a person with experience somewhere along that chain. And can actually probably put together a conversation of individuals who have some variety or variance of that as well. Mm-hmm. I think the difference between devices is less significant than like right now, there's such parity across smartphones.
Absolutely.
It's so hard to buy a bad smartphone that actually the bigger discrepancy is how much money somebody wants to spend.
Right.
That's the range. When I'm in a social group, somebody I want a phone for $200. Someone else is going to spend $2,000 on this one.
Yeah.
That is way more important in a person's decision than whether they get a Samsung or an iPhone. Mm-hmm. In my opinion.
For sure. It's always about the budget, right? It's always about the budget.
And that's the hardest part to grapple with.
Right.
Because the prestigious stuff or the expensive stuff, or particularly the Apple stuff, is always going to draw the bigger crowd.
Right, of course.
Better to look at.
Of course.
Go try talking about some budget thing and actually helping people and watch it crash because it's not aspirational.
Right.
So again, I think when we started, there was that. You could actually bump into a trash product. And then you could be really useful and tell people to avoid it.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, you mentioned tribalism, like you go and do some don't buy thing. Even if you believed it to be true, you are playing into something that is such a slim gradient. It's
Of
just
course.
not that big of a difference.
No.
To the extent that you wish that more people knew that.
Right.
I really wish that would be my main takeaway, having access to everything.
Right.
I've had access to everything, and let me tell you, this would be me talking to the public. I've had access to everything, and let me tell you, you really can't go wrong, and you really don't need to be watching these videos.
Right.
You do not need to be watching my videos. If
Right.
you get something else out of it or whatever, or it helps you pass the time or it makes you feel calm or whatever, then sure. But when it comes to me telling you what you need, you probably already know before you got there.
Right. It's true.
And which is why you're so prepared to defend that position.
Of course.
And it's not the videos or the people that helped you get there. It's probably more towards personal experiences. I mean, if you jump on the Apple website and pre-order the iPhone 13 Pro at $1,000, it's not your first iPhone.
No. You're an enthusiast. You're an enthusiast.
But you've had so many iPhones
Right.
that your experience is just as good
It's
as
going to be the
mine.
same. But like, yeah, no, I agree.
It's
but,
better. It's better actually.
Right.
Because you exclusively use that phone
Right.
for
Exactly.
the whole year.
Well, that's one reason why I don't carry an Android phone as my main device anymore. And this sounds really stupid, but this is my personal reason. I love Android. I used to only use Android devices, but I know I can only use one iPhone a year. I know it's like a small thing, but there's only one iPhone that comes out every single year. So the thing is, when you have access to all the latest, like you're using the Z Fold 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what were you using before that?
iPhone 12. Wait. iPhone 12 Pro? Will, help me out here. You see the
Okay.
problem?
The problem
iPhone 12
is you were
Pro.
using so many different phones that you're having a tough time remembering.
Absolutely.
Right. For me, if I stick to one device, then I don't have that issue. So like, yes, technically I'm still in the whole, I'm in the space where I get these devices thrown at too, but I know that I'm not taking my main SIM out of my main device until a new iPhone comes out.
Wouldn't you be worried that your exposure to the alternative products, like kind of like you referenced earlier,
Yeah.
that you might have some weakness there if you're not?
Well, I still review the phones, right? Because I have another SIM where I can just like put my iPhone down and use the phone, but I always go back. And the reason why is because when I was reviewing Android phones, there was literally a new one coming out every single week, and it had
Yeah.
something that was a tiny bit better, but really it didn't make a difference to me, you know? And I was constantly setting up the phone. And
I know.
when you set up the phone, it takes your time, and then you got to use it, and then you got to do it again, and then you just start losing your mind. So I was like, I had enough. So I just stick to one phone, and then I review the other phone and
You
put it
see
aside.
how crazy that is?
It
though?
is. These are first world problems.
No, but it's crazy. It's crazy in the sense that, for the record, I don't think you're alone. I've had a
Yeah.
lot of people sit on that couch from this space,
For sure.
and they do exactly the same
Yeah.
thing. But yet, the way it's presented on a channel is with some level of equivalency.
Yeah.
That you're treating everything fairly.
Right.
That you're
Absolutely.
that you're looking at everything equivalently. That you would that everything's an option. You don't come into a video, and neither do I. And at the very beginning of it, say, my SIM card's not going in here. I'll never use this. I
Right.
don't want to set this thing up. Imagine that video.
Of course. People won't take you seriously, but there's also a lot of people who specifically say they only use one style of phone, but yet use another phone in the background. I don't care. I'll say it straight up. Like I use an iPhone and I review Android phones, and it is what it is. If you don't like it, then don't watch my videos, right?
Yeah.
But I just think you just have to find some sort of system for yourself so you don't mentally go crazy. I've also stopped reviewing significantly less Android phones. I can't review every single phone that comes out of China. There's just too many, right? It's just crazy. I try to stick to the ones that I find interesting. The ones that like the Z Fold, the Z Flip, like those are interesting to me, right? Whether I'd use it or not, I want to review it. Those are interesting. But like, this phone from this company who just came out of this, shop over here and there, it's like, is there something interesting about it that it's going to make me want to review it? And I think every reviewer gets to that point too, who has to make these sort of decisions on whether they're going to do the same thing.